It is imperative that Black people know the other side of their story, told from a divine feminine perspective. Rest in power, Mama Zobe. Your legacy continues.
So when Black women search for their history, it is not to separate themselves from Black men or to impose themselves on Black men. Thus, finding your spirit and who and what you are will reveal who you are and the honor that comes with that. That's the first thing. The second thing is that men, African men, need to know this history because they too, since the beginning of time, honored the Divine Mother before it was broken away from them. They need to know this history more than Black women and understand it well. The research that has, as I was searching for our history, i.e. Black women, in Afrocentric research, I didn't find it. Most are still at the reclamation stage, meaning that we're still unearthing, and we probably always will be until the end of time, because our history is so old on the planet. So we'll always be finding great, great, great discoveries. But if we don't put it in its correct historical perspective, we won't understand it. So we say, oh yes, well, King Tut was Black, Isis was Black, and on and on. We're still at that stage. The stage that we need to aspire to is to understand what happened during this period that made us vulnerable to the nomadic tribes that ultimately invaded and seized and enslaved us. The problem was an internal problem my research has revealed. And we need to understand what that problem was on all levels, come to terms with it. The third thing, and this is particularly for Black women, this concept of goddess, that's a Western feminist concept. It's a generic attribution to divine principles that have been embodied in what you all have been taught, the feminine. And it is symbolized through images of what they tell you are goddesses. Well, that's for them. But for you, these were your biological mothers. They were not abstract figures. They were your biological mothers who embodied the divine spirit in the flesh. Just as a Christ, just as a Buddha, just as a Krishna. That's who they were. And when you research your history, or as you learn it and discover it, it is important that you think like that. These women, these goddesses that the Western feminists call them, were our mothers. They were divine queens, not second to anyone, who ruled the world. They could call down the gods. They could raise the dead. They could prophesy, both orally and in writing. This is who they were. But because the history after the invasions, particularly by the Greeks, and then the Persians, and then the Turks, and then the Assyrians, and then the Romans, and on and on and on, they commissioned that those images be remade over into their own. And then they buried the history of these matriarchs under Greek mythology. And what they couldn't bury, they wiped out. Now I asked you, how many Black women really focus on Greek mythology? The way it's taught in school is boring. I think you're learning about Europeans, but that's not their history. It's yours. And it's not mythology. It was real. They could actually manifest spirit in that manner. So as you're researching your history, understand it has nothing to do with feminism. It has to do with finding your mothers. They belong to these ethnic groups, African ethnic groups, that existed all throughout East Africa, and now many of them were forced across the Sudan into where present-day West Africa. That's the preference I want to leave you as I begin to talk about. Okay?
My way, and black people are indigenous to the earth. Black people are indigenous to the earth. Baby, we already been here. We already been here. Oh, this our planet. This is our planet. Where the ships at? Where the ships at? Pay my weight, and go. I said, pay me my weight, and go. Mama T sweatshirts and accessories available. Link in bio. And if you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe and support Mama. Y'all be good. Bye.
I went on a first date, and when I opened the door, my man was at my front door, and I was like, "Oh, like right." And then he hit me with the Rico. He pulled the flowers out, and I was like, "Wow, this is different, right?" So I'm not even paying attention. I brushed past this, trying to walk down the steps and get to the door, right? Because I'm not paying attention. I'm just so not used to it, and it just hasn't I just didn't have a lot of practice. He opened my car door. I get inside. He closed the door. I immediately went to my group chat. It's weird.
Did you say he opened your car door?
High five.
No. Now let me explain, right? Let me explain. By the time we got to the restaurant, my follow-up text was, y'all, that's my bad. I just realized and all that stuff we be talking about, we don't really want it. And I felt like he technically did everything that we be saying we be wanting. In my mind, instinctively, my first thought was he corny. But he really did everything that we want. But it's so unheard of that instead of me appreciating it, it's weird. So I want to say, first of all, sorry to that man. Second of all, now, since that, I haven't got it though. And now I want it. And I've missed the opportunity because he actually was corny. Because
it takes a corny man to do corny things.
It didn't work out because he actually was corny because we weren't interested in the same things. And I'm not
like Pokemon and stuff.
You like Yu-Gi-Oh.
First of all, I like Yu-Gi-Oh. So I would have been cool with that. Like that would have been fine. That would fine. It's like a card game.
It's like the new. It was the next thing after Pokemon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, he just wasn't up to my speed. He wasn't. I don't want to say fast enough, but I want to go outside and do stuff that's not always going out to eat. Or going out. Like, I want to go for a walk. I want to go to a museum. I want to go, experience and try new things. I want to take a pottery class. I want to do a paint and sip. I want to go, do different things. And he was just like, yeah, I got this other restaurant we can go to.
Was he overweight?
I'm good. Huh?
Was he overweight?
He wasn't overweight.
That's just how some guys know how to date. But they think that it's restaurants.
They don't have nothing else.
Restaurants after restaurants.
No, that's it. That they don't have nothing else. All they want to do. And I think if we're talking about stuff that's outdated, you taking me to a restaurant for the first few dates is very outdated. If we're just meeting up, I don't want to go to the movies. I don't want to go to a restaurant. I don't want to do any of these things as a first date because that's not me getting to know you. That's not us having genuine conversations, especially if we go to the movies. What we going to do? Talk about how we want our steak cooked? Cool. But it'll be better if we have time to yo, I like to run. I like to work out. Let's go for a walk. Let's go to the gym. I'd much rather do that than go out to a restaurant.
Yo, I love that answer. But I do want to say it's not that he doesn't know anything else. See,
what is it?
The gentlemen are realistically the only man that listened to what a woman said they wanted and didn't know what they wanted. Right? So when you hear about that guy that takes him out to eat or takes women out to eat and just brings flowers and opens all these doors, he ends up being a cornball because he was just doing what you asked. But 9 times out of 10, women are only asking for things, people, but in this case, women are only asking for things that other women wanted, right? So you might have heard your mother say, a man should do this or a man should do that because that's what she wanted and maybe didn't have, right? And maybe she heard that from somebody else because that's what they wanted and that's what they did have. But then you get it, you're like, this is not even all that, right? maybe you want something with more substance. A gesture of flowers is not enough substance for you. But guess what? Maybe for you, something that's going to teach you something, or maybe some type of knowledgeable thing or a physical activity is going to be more substance for you than it was for the person who gave you this boundary or criteria to run by or script to run by.